Hi, I'm going to show you how to find practice books for Ohio on Lexis Advanced and WestlawNext. If you do a whole big search, such as for constructive eviction, and I filter my sources down to Ohio, now I could also filter by secondary materials, but in this example I'll just keep it broad. And then once I run the search, I can use these filters over to the left to narrow my results down to just practice books. Okay, so here I have secondary materials selected, and I could click on category treatises, or I could pick a particular source if I wanted to. But here I'll select treatises, and here we see a practice book section that might apply to our situation. And so I click on that, I can read this, and over on the left hand side I can open up the table of contents and see any surrounding sections. Alternatively, to find a practice book in Ohio, you can use your browse up here in the upper left. So I click on that and open that up, and I click on browse sources. I could enter in search terms here such as Ohio real property, or I can narrow by jurisdiction and pick Ohio. From here I can further narrow to secondary materials, and from here I could type in search terms such as real property. Okay, so here we see Ohio real property law and practice. That sounds like a good one. So I could click on the table of contents and open that up, and I could drill down on the table of contents and go to this chapter about landlord-tenant law, and I could add that particular chapter to the search if I just want to search that. And here I could either search the table of contents only, the documents in the table of contents, or both the table of contents and the documents in that particular book. So I'm going to search for constructive eviction. And see if any relevant sections come up. Okay, and again from my section here I could see the table of contents if I click on the link over at the left. The last way to pull up a practice book for Ohio is if you know the name of what you're looking for. I'm going to get rid of this filter a second. If I know that I want Ohio real property law and practice, I could just start typing that in, Ohio real property, and that section will come up. I could click on the table of contents, or I could click get documents, and it will get documents from that particular source, and I could narrow it down using the filters on the left. On WestlawNext, you could similarly do a broad search for constructive eviction. Select your jurisdiction as Ohio. And click on secondary sources. And I could narrow down here using these filters on the left. I could filter just to Ohio instead of getting the multi-jurisdictional items. I could filter just to Ohio, and from there I could click on publication type such as text and treatises and get some practice book sections such as this one on constructive eviction. The table of contents link is in the upper right, so I can see the surrounding sections here and see if maybe I want to look at some of those too. Okay, another way to find Ohio secondary sources on WestlawNext, if I go back to the beginning, I can use the browse widget, and I could click on state materials, Ohio. I could go to all secondary sources, and I could look at texts and treatises. Notice that you will get more listed if you click on this Ohio Handbook Series or Ohio Practice Series. And here's our Ohio Landlord-Tenant Law book that we could look at. And we could search this particular book just by typing in search terms at the top, or we could scroll down the table of contents and open that up and try and find some sections on point. Another thing that we can do, if I go back to the beginning, similar to like we did on Lexis, if I know the name of the source I want, I could just start typing in Ohio Landlord-Tenant, and here's the Baldwin's Ohio Handbook, Ohio Landlord-Tenant Law, and I could click on that. And that's how you find Ohio practice books on Lexis and Westlaw.